The white man accused of gunning down 10 black shoppers in a Buffalo, New York grocery store is indicted today on 27 federal charges. Peyton Gendon is charged with 14 violations of the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Hate Crimes Prevention Act and 13 firearms offenses in connection with the May 14th mass shooting. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department fully recognizes the threat that white supremacist violence poses to the safety of the American people and American democracy. We will continue to be relentless in our efforts to combat hate crimes, to support the communities terrorized by them, and to hold accountable those who perpetrate them. On June 1st, a Buffalo grand jury returned a 25-count indictment against Gendron. All right, so let me repeat that again for all the people out there who sort of missed that. And that is, he was indicted for violating the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Hate Crimes Prevention Act. Now, if you listen to a bunch of these people out here on Twitter as well as YouTube, who keep yelling, "Oh, we need a anti-black hate crimes law." That's what the act is. Oh, but then they get upset because they say, "Oh, because the white guy who's gay is on the same bill." Y'all, they were killed in the same year. They were killed in the same year. So it boggles the mind, Greg, to listen to these people who go, I mean, last night, Luther Campbell had this Twitter Spaces conversation where they wanted me to come on. I was like, I'm not dealing with them FBA nuts. But I'm sitting here and all of these people keep yelling, and I saw some tweets today, how we need a anti-black hate crimes law. When literally there are laws right now to deal with the very issue. So what do you make of all these people, Greg, who keep saying, no, it needs to be, I even had one person tell me, no, it needs to be only for black people. Because they are convinced the Asians got a hate crime law, and they didn't. But it is the craziest thing to keep listening to these black people yell this constantly. I think you're on mute, Greg.
My bad. Yes, sir. Thank you, Roland. I will leave this, of course, to Reese, who has been preaching this from the rooftops to anybody who will listen to deal with this question of weaponized ignorance. I think that's one of three strains. One strain is the righteous, legitimate strain, the sentiment that we have not been served well in this settler state. But we know that since we were brought here. So that feeling, I think, is honest. You know, we want something for us. We should be redressed. And I don't have any smoke for that. I mean, I feel it. I share it. Then there is the strain that is a lot less difficult, a lot more difficult to grapple with, and that is the strain of miseducation. And, you know, as a teacher, I look at our young people and I just despair for them. And even as I'm with them all the time, daily, in trying to deal with this question of education, because technology and all the shifts in the society have basically overwhelmed us with ignorance. And so there's not even 5 seconds to read a bill or to know even that a bill exists or understand even how the law works, as you, who have the patience of Job, did indeed dip into that conversation with Uncle Luke and them the other night and walk people through and said, we need a new schoolhouse rock. And even in that little engagement, Roland, I saw in the wake of it, there were people who echoed some of your talking points. And as you walk through, and I realized that can change minds. But then that leads to the third one. And again, I'll leave this to Reese. We have real enemies out there. We have real enemies who are elevating and amplifying the voices of some hardcore, straight up con men like Tariq Nasheed and others. And those who may have good intentions like Uncle Luke, but also might not have good intentions. Where's the revenue stream coming from? But the open enemies are weaponizing it and overwhelming our people to the point where can't nobody tell nothing about nothing. And then in the middle of that, you drop some foolishness and the thing just grows like mold in the dark.
This right here, Reese, that I'm looking at right now, let me go ahead and connect this to our Roku device so I can show the people on the screen. This right here that I am pulling up is remarks from Attorney General Eric Holder on the 10th anniversary of this particular bill. Now, again, for all the people out there who keep yelling, hollering, and screaming, we need an anti-black hate crimes law. This is what this actually says. The Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act of 2009 provides funding and technical assistance to state, local, and tribal jurisdictions to help them to more effectively investigate and prosecute hate crimes. It also creates a new federal criminal law which criminalizes willfully causing bodily injury or attempting to do so with firearm, or other dangerous weapon when, 1, the crime was committed because of the actual or perceived race, color, religion, national origin of any person, or 2, the crime was committed because of the actual or perceived religion, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability of any person, and the crime affected interstate or foreign commerce or occurred within federal, special, maritime, and territorial jurisdiction. There are 3 subsections in here that he lays out. Y'all are looking at the subsections. I'm slowly going through this because, Reese, it is crazy to listen to these people who have read nothing, who refuse to read anything, who continue to advance this lie that, oh, the Asians got a bill. The Asians got a bill. They don't even know what the hell's in the bill. Oh, the Asians got, the bill has money just for the Asians. No, it doesn't. And they go through this, and then you take these simple Simons who run with it, and they advance it on social media. And then I even had one person come at me and say, in one of those, I think it was in that Twitter space with Luke, why can't we get a anti-police? This is no lie, Reese. He literally said, why can't we have an anti-police bill that only applies to black people?
You know, this is like insanity. And I mean, to Dr. Carr's point, there is a righteous indignation. There's a righteous grievance that black people have within this country. The way that we are mistreated, black people are still the #1 victims of hate crimes in this country. So there is a righteous grievance with the way that we are constantly attacked, whether it be by the police state, whether it be by hateful monsters and people like the Buffalo shooter. That part is righteous. That part is valid. What's not valid, I love the way Dr. Carr said miseducation, is the disinformation and misinformation campaigns that are targeting and exploiting the pain and the trauma and the violence against black people to keep us dumbed down, dissuaded from doing anything to improve the situation, and trying to fight battles that our ancestors have already damn won. And it's not even right to say ancestors, because a lot of those people are still living. Diane Nash, Fred Gray, people who were just awarded with the presidential presidential medal last week. Okay, these people are still here, and it's disrespectful to their legacy and to the battles that have been won to disregard that. The blood that was shed for James Byrd Jr. was horrific. And for the people that say that Obama never did anything for black people, the Matthew Shepard and the James Byrd Jr. Act was under President Obama. Okay. And for people to say, well, they just gave the blacks something so that they can give the gays something, that's ignorant as fuck. That's embarrassing that you actually believe that a black man dying in and of itself isn't justification for saying we need to expand the hate crimes protections that we have. So what happens with us, and this is something that the Mueller report detailed, this is something that Vice President Kamala Harris has talked about, this is something that is well documented. There are chaos campaigns that target Black people, not so that we can be converted one way or another, because the common thread from these chaos agents is that I'm nonpartisan. I don't like the Republicans either. But they know that their charge is to get Black people to not vote at all. And when that happens, you are not affecting any kind of change. You're just sounding stupid as fuck on the internet, complaining about something that we don't even have to complain about because that's already done. And I would like to add that under this administration, there has been millions of dollars for the first time to solve anti-lynching cases. It's called Emmett Till cold case money. It's millions of dollars that they put towards that. Who do you think were the victims of those lynching cases? It was Black people. We passed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act after 200 attempts. So it's really crazy to me that people say, look at what the Asians got. The Asians got a bill. Why the Asians got something? The Black people ain't got nothing. Won't. And you sit up there and you ignore legislation that's so significant. It took 200 attempts to get passed, 200 times, 200 failed attempts to get passed. That was just filibustered by Rand Clam Paul in 2020 when everybody was out on the streets marching for George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. So we have to do better of actually recognizing the battles that we have in front of us. There are real battles. We have to get better at recognizing the battles that we've already won and actually channeling our energy in a way that's productive. And the last thing I want to say about this Asian bill, which is mind-blowing to me, that this is somehow the most significant bill in the history of Black social media, not the trillions of dollars that went into the American Rescue Plan, not the trillions of dollars that went into infrastructure, not the money for removing lead pipes, not the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, not I can go on down the line, not what's being done around homeowner appraisal bias, not what's being done around Black maternal mortality, et cetera, motherfucking, et cetera. None of that is significant, but this so-called Asian bill is somehow the most significant bill, even though this so-called Asian bill has a period of 1 year. It was authorizing an expediter for hate crimes related to COVID for 1 year. So as we're talking about it, it's not even an issue. It's a non-motherfucking factor, as they would say on Basketball Wives. And y'all still talking about it and not all of the other things. We need to focus on the very real problems that we have. There are a lot of very real problems that we have in this country. Hate crimes legislation is not one of them. It's just not. We don't need a Black bill. We already have the Black bill, the Civil Rights Act, the James Byrd Jr. Act. What more do y'all want? We need to start actually maybe doing something so that people feel a little bit less emboldened to come in our communities and shoot our asses up. I'm not saying, rough justice, vigilante justice, and I'm not saying that the Buffalo people had to come. Now, I'm not blaming anybody, but what I'm saying is there are ways that we can put some fear in some heart that don't need to be written into legislation.
So, again, for the simple Simons out there who don't bother to read, and for all of y'all lying ass fools who say, we ain't never had a bill for us. Do y'all know when there was the first federal hate crimes law?
Don't do it to him, Roland. Don't do it to him. Don't do it, brother.
The first federal hate crimes law was 1968. If this was, no, go back, come back. See, it was 1968. See, if we were still doing TV One, News One now, I would say, Shelly, go to my iPad. And whenever I would say, Shelly, go to my iPad, that was an indication I'm about to get in somebody's ass. Now, again, for all of y'all simple Simon ass fools who listen to ignorant people, let me walk you through. And I'm sorry, y'all might be asking me, well, Roland, where are you getting your information from? JUSTICE.gov.
Right there.
Not Wikipedia. Justice.gov. What is justice.gov? That's the website of the Justice Department. Hear me, go to my iPad. Y'all can see for yourselves. For all of y'all who are wondering where I'm getting my information from, what does that say right there? The United States Department of Justice. What does it say right here? Since 1968, when Congress passed and President Lyndon Johnson signed into law the first federal hate crimes statute, the Department of Justice has been enforcing federal hate crimes laws. The 1968 statute made it a crime to use or threaten to use force to willfully interfere with any person because of race, color, religion, or national origin, and because the person is participating in a federally protected activity such as public education, employment, jury service, travel, or the enjoyment of public accommodations, or helping another person to do so. In 1968, Congress also made it a crime to use or threaten to use force to interfere with housing rights because of the victim's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. In 1988, protections on the basis of familial status and disability were added. In 1996, Congress passed the Church Arson Prevention Act. Under this act, it is a crime to deface, damage, or destroy religious real property or interfere with a person's religious practice in situations affecting interstate commerce. The act also bars defacing, damaging, or destroying religious property because of the race, color, or ethnicity of persons associated with the property. Now, let me walk through this for y'all to understand. For those of you who are watching, and you may say, well, if the first hate crime law was 1968, well, who was that for? There was a housing bill that was being filibustered for 2 years in the United States Senate. It was Republican Senator Edward Brooke of Massachusetts who helped broker the deal to break the filibuster in the United States Senate in February of 1968. The problem is the bill was still being filibustered in the South. Calm down, Republicans. Y'all might get all excited about saying, ooh, we saved the bill. No, Southern Dixiecrats aligned with conservative Republicans because white folks did not want black people living in their neighborhoods. On April 4th, 1968, Dr. King was shot and killed in Memphis. On April 5th, 1968, President Lyndon Baines Johnson sent a letter to the House Speaker Mike Mansfield stating we should honor the life and legacy of Dr. King by passing the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Oh, I'm sorry. It's known as the Fair Housing Act of 1968, but that's not actually what it was. It was actually called the Civil Rights Act of 1968. What is embedded in the Civil Rights Act of 1968? The first fucking hate crimes law. So for all you simple Simons out there who are sitting here going, oh my God, we've never had a hate crimes law for us. The first federal hate crimes law was a result of black people demanding it. Oh, 1996, the Church Arson Prevention Act. It's not called the Synagogue Arson Prevention Act. It's not called the Mosque Arson Prevention Act. Why is it called the Church Arson Prevention Act? Oh, because that was in response to black churches being burned for black people. So just like the basis of the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act were the attacks on Asians, the basis of the first federal hate crimes law was black people. The basis of the 1996 Hate Crimes Act, that was based for black people. Then when you go to the Matthew Shepard, James Byrd Act, the reason you have that is because they included the fact that he was gay, sexuality in the act. So for all y'all running around, oh my goodness, we haven't had, and then when, yes, Simple Simon Tariq, I heard what you said, or after Buffalo, Biden invited that group, the Asian group, to the White House to discuss the Asian Hate Crime Act. No, actually, that's not what happened. Because the week after the Buffalo shooting, Erica, the House, led by Congressman Jones, Congressman Bowman, passed a white domestic terrorism bill that was in response to Buffalo. It was passed in the House. So for all the simple Simon, CBC ain't done shit, it was passed in the House. It died in the Senate. So here's my question, FBA, B1, ADOS. How many of y'all were lobbying your senator to pass it in the Senate? I'll wait. See, this is what happens, y'all, when y'all listen to people who are full of shit, who don't want to give you actual, y'all love hollering data. I dare any one of y'all to refute what I just laid out. I dare one of y'all to refute that the bill that was passed, by the way, one Republican voted for it in the House. One. It got stalled in the Senate. So when y'all say tangibles, is that not one? Is a domestic terrorism bill directly in response to Buffalo not one? How many times have I told these people, Erica, that somebody can promise you something, but that one person promising you something don't mean it's going to get passed because you got to convince other folk to make it happen. So when we say, y'all talking about vote, you got no vote, no voice. Because if Sheriff Beasley is elected in North Carolina, if Mandela Barnes elected in Wisconsin, if Fetterman is in Pennsylvania, that's 3 votes right there. That means the Senate is now 53-47. That means that Sinema and Manchin can't block a damn thing. Because now you might have some other Democrats who show themselves, but the reality is that domestic terrorism bill could actually pass because you now have gone beyond Sinema and Manchin. Throw in Demings in Florida, 54-46. Throw in registering black people in Louisiana, could get Gary Chambers, could get Booker in Kentucky. See, this is what happens. Again, tangibles. It comes down to also voting. So I'm just sick and tired of the lying. And this ain't shilling for no Democrats. This is called presenting factual data for the simple Simons, Erica.
Yeah, this is a successful chaos campaign. And when you have people that are more interested in platforms, performance, and really riling up their base the same way the son of a Klansman did, this is what you get. There's no real difference between them and the Republicans and how they're advancing their talking points. It's pulling on language that's become mainstream as far as social media goes. And when I opened up Twitter and I saw that was trending, I quickly closed it up. I was done with that. One thing that I would challenge folks around, especially folks that talk about tangibles, I'm living and I'm eating from the fruit of trees that I did not plant, which are tangibles. So that's first and foremost. We all are. We all are definitely beneficiaries of a penniless Fannie Lou Hamer who in a jail cell, right? Who was pulled over on a bus because the cop said that the bus was too damn yellow, who was then taken to a jail cell and who sheriff pumped behind gave two black jailers a blackjack and beat her so while this woman sing and worship, sing and praises, asking this person to please stop doing this on the authority of a white sheriff, that the injuries that she sustained while she went to the Democratic National Convention. I believe it was in Atlantic City. So we are really the fruit. We are bearing witness to tangible. So shut that shit up. Secondly, if people want to actually do something, last night I had the pleasure of sitting at the feet of our very own library and luminary, Dr. Greg Carr, as he sat in Sankofa Library in Washington, motherfucking D.C. And for 3 hours, freestyle, drop bars. We went from bookstores. We talked about fruits of movements. All of that was happening there. And it was no charge. I didn't see anybody from the tangible committee there. But people who were there were people who were concerned about gentrification. There was a woman there that had a plea about a senior building in Washington, D.C., the Lombard bill. And Dr. Carr can share a little bit more around that, tell me the name of the building. But she said that, listen, I need help. I need someone who knows somebody on the council who has some attorneys, because the attorneys that we have are really working against us. Guess what? In that room of people who were there sitting at the feet of the establishers of Sankofa, D.C., at Dr. Greg Carr, the answer was in the room. Yep. So you got to be in the room. Get your ass off of social media hollering about stuff when Reese has laid out environmental issues that our people are placed in. There was an infrastructure bill by this administration so that you wouldn't have to drink dirty ass water, the same water that folks in Flint are still drinking. The social determinants of health, where we Black people suffer more with asthma, all of these chronic illnesses, because plants are always putting their stock and trade into our communities. Roland has covered Cancer Alley. He's covered Black farmers, all of that. Get your ass to the platform where work is actually being done. It's happening here. So for the social justice Twitterticians is what I call them, for those social justice movement folks that are all about keyboard, all about platforms and performance, all you are doing is advancing the cause of a son of a Klansman, and they're not going to stop you. They're going to continue to line your pockets of your leaders, and they are absolutely going to continue to elevate your voices, because you, my friend, are advancing the cause of the detriment of your own people. Swallow those tangibles.
All right, so, I know what's happening right now. See, somebody right now, I know what y'all doing. I know what y'all haters doing. Y'all saying, see, but the Asians, but the Asians, they got mentioned in the bill. I've heard we ain't never been mentioned in the bill. You heard that, right, Greg?
Yes, sir.
I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
They said, no, see, the Asians, they got mentioned in the beginning of the bill.
They haven't read the bill.
Now here's the deal. I showed it on the show.
Yes.
And they're correct. They're like, but the Asians, we've been here 400 years, we ain't never got mentioned. Background and need for the legislation. Since October 1st, 1991, The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the primary federal agency with jurisdiction to investigate arson, has investigated 147 fire incidents at churches across the United States. Of these fires, 115 have proved to be arsons. 53 of those 147 churches were made up of predominantly African American congregations, many of them located in the southeastern United States. Reese, why don't you go ahead and pick up the next paragraph for me? Why don't you just read the next paragraph right there? The number of fires.
The number of fires involving African American churches reported to federal authorities has increased dramatically in recent months. In 1992, 3 African American church burnings in the Southeast were reported and investigated by the BATF. 2 were reported in 1993, 4 in 1994, and 6 in 1995. So far in 1996, there have been at least 26 such fires reported.
Hold it right there. Greg, pick it up as in 6 incidents. Go ahead, Greg. In 6 incidents.
You see here, they had to put it back on the big screen. They moved to me. So here we go. In 6 incidents, the perpetrators were prosecuted and convicted, 4 under federal statutes and 2 in state prosecutions. Of the 31 currently pending investigations where arson or suspicious circumstances have been discovered, 6 are in Tennessee. Remember Reggie White, Roland? He was a minister. I remember that. Mm-hmm. 5 in Louisiana, 5 in South Carolina, 5 in Alabama, 3 in Mississippi, 5 in North Carolina, 1 in Virginia, and 1 in Georgia. Arrests have been made in connection with 6 of these incidents, and most of the defendants are being prosecuted in state court under arson charges.
Hold right there. Erica, why don't you just read that next sentence, if you
Praise
can.
the Lord. 2 of these are in South Carolina, where 2 arsonists who set 2 separate fires are acknowledged members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Hold it right there. So for all of the simpletons who said, we ain't never been mentioned in no bill, there ain't never been no bill do y'all see Asians mentioned anywhere in here?
Lord have mercy.
Do y'all see Latinos or any other group mentioned in here? Nope. In fact, if you actually even go down, what you will see, it says, according to the Department of Justice, there are 3 principal statutes under which the Civil Rights Division could attempt to prosecute the person responsible for a church burning that is found to be motivated by racism.
Roland, before you go on, though, brother, this is where I thought you were going with this. Remember, before the 13th Amendment, Lincoln was killed in April 65. The 13th Amendment had been drafted. Johnson comes in, and the 13th Amendment is passed in December. But the first civil rights law after the 13th Amendment was the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Yep.
That's one of those laws they're talking about. And that Civil Rights Law of 1866 said you cannot deprive anyone of their full civil rights based on race. Race is explicitly mentioned. So I'm surprised. It's interesting that the Justice Department doesn't even claim credit for that law, which came during Reconstruction. And of course, 4 years later, under Ulysses Grant, as you walked us through many times, what federal bureau did they create to go after the Klan in part? Merrick Garland said it at the announcement of him as Attorney General, the damn Department of Justice. So these people, I thought that's where you were going, but that what you just read, one of those laws they're referring to is the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which does mention race. That's interesting.
See, the reason I'm sitting here trying to walk y'all through is because, again, you're listening to people who ain't read jack. They lying to y'all. And they getting you all riled up. They getting you all upset. Man, they ain't never mentioned us in the bill. The Asians got a bill. Y'all, we just walked you through specific legislation that Congress has passed that specifically mentions black people. Now, tell me what your Simple Simon's going to tell you now. Please, by all means, show me what they're going to say to you now to refute what we've just laid out. And then, for all y'all other Simple Simons who have the audacity, you can switch it back, Henry, to have the audacity to say, Roland, why you ain't covered this stuff? Because your punk ass don't watch.
Right.
I walked folk through all this stuff.
Right.
I walked through the so-called Asian bill, showed the whole damn bill on the show. I had some fools gonna hit me with the Newsweek article on HBCUs. I bet you ain't covered this. I said, you dumbasses. We debunked that stupid article 9 months ago. But see, this is what happens when y'all keep following behind people who, first of all, ain't real journalists. Former pimps.
Come on.
Call the roll.
Folk who hide their face. Folk who got bad lace fronts.
Oh.
Folk who ain't never been to journalism school, but they want to call themselves new black media. This is what happens when you are real black-owned media. When you got journalistic credentials. When you know how to research. When you know how to lay things out. And by the way, there's nothing that we've done today that is in defense of Democrats.
That's
Right.
Today is in defense of the truth.
That's right.
Right.
It is the truth. And so if you're sitting out there right now and you holler intangibles and you say you want a bill that specifically mentions black people, the House has already passed it. So what you should be doing is trying to get Representative Val Demings elected in Florida. Lieutenant Governor Mandela elected in Wisconsin. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman elected in Pennsylvania. You should be trying to get Representative Tim Ryan elected in Ohio. You should be trying to get Charles Booker elected in Kentucky. You should be trying to get Sherry Beasley elected in North Carolina. Because just imagine what happens. And again, for all you simpletons. Oh, yeah, you out here, you shilling for the Democrats. Can you tell me who's running?
Boom.
This is real simple. For all y'all, again, this is for the FBA, B1, ADOS crowd. Who running for Senate in Georgia? Warnock or Herschel Walker? Which one y'all want? Who's running in Pennsylvania? Democrat Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman or New Jersey resident Dr. Oz? Republican. Which one y'all want? Who's running in Wisconsin? Mandela's likely going to win the Democratic nomination, running against MAGA Senator Ron Johnson, Republican. Which one y'all going to vote for? In Florida, Representative Val Demings, Senator Marco Rubio. Which one y'all going to vote for? Which one? Again, Beasley, Bud. Beasley, Democrat, Bud, Republican. Which one y'all gonna vote for? Y'all keep hollering tangibles. Okay. One Republican voted for the domestic terrorism bill in the wake of Buffalo. One in the House. In the Senate, 47 Republicans voted against. But your ass want tangibles. Okay, you tell me which path is the way to get the domestic terrorism bill y'all say y'all want. Show me which one. You going through two doors. You going through the door that Donald Trump is holding open? Or you going through the door that Biden is holding open? It's two doors you going through. Now, let's be real clear. And we're going to talk about it next. I love it how y'all say, make demands. Oh, I've been making demands. But look, some of y'all, I ain't out there telling folks not to vote.
Right.
Because I can't make a demand and then don't vote to ensure that person wins to then be able to go ask them to do something. So all I'm saying, y'all, is don't come at me with the bullshit and you ain't read nothing. We just debunked all your lies that black people have never been mentioned or named in a hate crimes law. That has been debunked. It is a lie. What y'all got next?
And Roland, can I point out one more thing? Because, a lot of people are trying to make the point in light of the Buffalo massacre. Why don't the black people ever get anything? Where's our hate crime bill? I want to point out that Congressman Jamal Bowman passed or put forth a resolution in the House. It passed by 218 to 205 votes. All of the 205 no votes were Republicans. And this was a condemnation of the Great Replacement theory, which was the theory that animated the Buffalo terrorists. It condemned the Buffalo massacre. It condemned anti-black racism and hate crimes. Specifically, if you look in the bill and you do a search on the word black, because some people have a problem with the word African American or whatever little word you want to use, but the word black is specifically mentioned 9 times in this resolution. All of the no votes were Republican and all of the yes votes were Democrats. So when we talk about the facts, this is not a pro-Democrat thing or anti-Republican thing. It's a pro-fact situation. And if you want to talk about black people being acknowledged and recognized and the horrors against us being recognized, I want to see some smoke for these Republicans that could not even vote against the Great Replacement theory and could not even vote to condemn the Buffalo massacre, because they know good and damn well that their base wants to see black people massacred. Those people are the enemies, not us for trying to tell y'all the truth. And for those of you who are angry and who are disillusioned, who are upset, we hear you and we see you, but we want you to channel your energy towards something that actually needs to be done, not refighting the battles that we've already won.
That's right. Roland, can I follow with Reese just a second? I know we going long, but this is so important. You're right, Reese. I mean, thinking about the other end of the spectrum, and thank you for reminding us all, people who weren't there, Erica, last night. We were at Sankofa, and the elder was Glenda Richmond that you're talking about, and she lives at the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Homes, which is public housing here in D.C., and the developers want it. And that sister was sitting outside of Sankofa last night trying to work on a lawsuit because she's got a hearing in August coming up. And in the wake of some remarks that Erica made, powerful remarks on the power of silence, the power of sitting still, which a lot of us could use a lot more. In the wake of that, Holly Garima, the co-owner with his wife, Shrigiana, brought this elder up to the microphone. She made a plea for help. And as you say, Erica, this sister in the back, whose mother was one of the founders of the Paul Laurence Dunbar homes, unbeknownst to anybody in there except Holly, who asked her to come, said, "Oh no, sis, you come with me right now." And that elder started crying. She broke down crying because she finally found somebody who's going to get her some help, because those are senior citizens in D.C. who are being displaced by gentrification. Marcel for Congress in South Carolina. All the black rappers. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something for all y'all over here, because all the brilliant Marxists and leftists who, for whom the Democrats and Republicans are the same, I agree with you philosophically in terms of the capitalism and how this works in terms of neoliberalism. But let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. You see, the problem with abstract intellectualism is very plain. It's very easy to stand outside of the work, outside of the work Erica's talking about, outside of practical activity, and build a utopia and offer a smoke for everybody, to have hate and criticism because it's all wrong. And guess what? If you're standing in utopia, if you're judging something against utopia that doesn't exist, literally means no place, and says this falls short, this falls short, this falls short, you're absolutely right. Everything's going to look bad. Everything's going to look bad. But guess what? Once you step into the reality, you're going to look that elder in the face and tell her, well, yes, it's bad, but the Democrats are no different. Well, are you going to give her a place to sleep tonight? Are you going to get those people going to be displaced? Or are you going to fight? Are you going to run for office? Are you going to get in the street and get everybody to vote so she can stay in her house? The answer to that, of course, for the geniuses, some of whom are my friends, geniuses who have everything figured out, and then open their computers and every day wax eloquent on what's wrong with everything and are reading and discussing everything, but don't step a foot outside to be in the real world. Of course, everything is flawed. And guess what? Because everything is flawed, you get to be right, and an elder doesn't have somewhere to live. Or somebody can't terminate a pregnancy, or somebody can't get a pap smear, or can't, when they call, there's nobody to give them service, and they have a heart attack, or they stressed out, or they get minimum wage. You don't live in the real world. I'm talking about people who do read. And so, Roland, you know, as you're talking about the folks who have been victims of weaponized ignorance, who have embraced that by the pimps and the bad lace fronts and everything, on the other end of the spectrum are the geniuses who stand outside of the battle and critique all the battle strategies. And those people, they tend to have a beef with you too, because they love taking clips out of context and saying, see, but they wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit salad.
Would you say that?
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?